So as you can see, we've got some of our tomato seedlings already popping up out of our seed tray. But I wanted to show you this real quick too, though, this week, because, you know, sometimes we get a little busy and sometimes we forget about things. And last week what I did is I filled the tray about halfway with some water so that each of these cells could soak up water for the seedlings. And I forgot about it. Left it overnight and really saturated this seed tray. And I don't know if you can tell there too, as some of the tops here are turning green. But one of the strategies I'm going to do in order to hopefully make sure that we don't lose any of our seedlings is I want to dry this tray out as fast as possible now. So what I did is I broke out the heat mat, which I wouldn't normally use for tomatoes. Tomatoes are going to grow just fine without a heat mat. But what I want to do is I want to warm this up to kind of evaporate a lot of that water off. I don't want to dry it out completely, but I want to dry it up enough to where I can, start watering it again. Welcome everybody to another garden journal here on the Urban Gardener. I'm Enoch, and I'm really glad to have all of you along with me again this week as we're getting our garden season really growing now. As you saw, we've got all those tomato starts just popping up out of that seed tray, and we just got all of our pepper starts this last week transplanted out into their next part of their growth process here indoors. And what I'm doing right now is I'm sowing some more indoor seeds so that we can have a few more varieties and crops growing indoors over the next couple of weeks. So we're waiting for that last frost date. So what I'm doing here is we're going to get a couple of varieties of eggplants started. I picked these out of the Baker Creek catalog. We've got a nice real black variety and a really cool white variety called Casper. So those are going to be really neat. I like having some eggplant in my garden, not just for the fruits that I really have come to enjoy over the last couple of years as I've been growing those. It was one of those crops that I started because I just really hadn't tried eggplant really. So I wanted to try it out, try some recipes and see how it worked out. And I really did enjoy it. So we're going to try a couple of different other varieties. Plus, we're going to do something that I, again, haven't tried before. I like to also put new things into the garden whenever I get an opportunity. So I'm going to grow okra. I saw some of these plants in a garden this last season, and I really like the plants. I like the flowers. The way they grow was really cool. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to not only grow the plants, but get a chance to try some okra out. I have not really tried okra other than I think maybe a couple of gumbos I've had before years and years ago. But I don't really remember the flavor much. So we're gonna give those a shot this year and see how well they go. So that's what I'm gonna be doing, is I'm gonna be seeding those out here. And then what I'm gonna do is we're gonna go outside to our back patio area and get into some of those raised bed boxes that I've got out there and get some of our greens growing. Now we've got all these warm crops inside. It's really time to ramp up getting some of those greens growing outside. I've seen a couple of volunteers popping up out of the ground here recently, so I know it's the perfect time to get all of those lettuces and greens started. So that's what we're gonna do there. Plus, I think what we're gonna do too is plant out one of these bare root grapes that I picked out when I was out recently at one of my garden centers. I tried a grape bare root last year, and I think I got sold one that was already just not viable. So it didn't grow at all, and I really wanted to get that started. But this year, I've got a really good bare root picked out. So we're gonna plant that out on our back fence line back there. So hopefully we can get some grapes growing up back there. That would be really cool too. So I'm gonna get finished planting out these eggplants and these okras here, and then I'll meet you outside, out back. So, all right, everyone, just a little bit of a time warp there for us. It's been a couple of days. The rain kind of washed out all of our plans for the other day. So, what I want to do now is start getting to getting some of the compost. We're going to top off some of our beds here now, like I said, and plant out some of our lettuces and our different greens. I've got some beets, carrots, radishes, all sorts of things. We're going to get this whole area with all of our raised bed boxes all planted out. And also, like I mentioned, we did pick up that bare root grapevine. So what we picked up was a flame red seedless grape, and it's a bare root. So I just brought it back home here and we planted it into some of our sifted compost that we've been sifting out this last week. So it's actually starting to open up a bit. So we better get it into the ground, get it growing, and hopefully we'll have some grapes this season. So on our back patio area here, I've got these various sized above ground raised beds. This is a 2 foot by 2 foot that we've got here, 2 foot by 4 foot here, and then we built up one that's just a little bit taller so we don't have to do all the leaning over, and we made it nice and deep too, but another 2 foot by 4 foot bed. And I've got this one here, which is kind of a little tiered out bed. It's probably one of my oldest beds I had. In fact, it's gone through a couple of different modifications as well over the years. But this is where we'll be planting out some of our carrots and beets. And I think I'm gonna even try some parsnips back here. I've never tried those before, so that'll be kind of cool. And then over here we'll do some radishes and possibly some other types of greens. And then we'll just kind of do some rows right here in our 2 foot by 4 foot beds, and we'll just grow out a bunch of different various lettuces that I've got that I want to grow. So what I want to do now real quick is just go over some of the different varieties of greens and carrots and different things that we're going to be growing back here in our gardening beds. A couple of the different varieties that I grew of our greens last year were these mini head lettuces that I got from Baker Creek, and one's called a Tom Thumb and the other is Little Gem. And they grew really nice, were really tasty, and they're nice and small, and just great little lettuces for those people who might have some small spaces. Now, to add some red greens to our beds, I've got this Merlot that was given to me free by the Baker Creek Seed Company, free seed when you order different seeds from them. And then we've got some May Queen, and let's see here. Oh, we've got also some rocket or arugula. That's really good and nice, adds a nice little spice to the salad. I love having arugula in the garden. Plus, we've got a variety here of radicchio. And I'm gonna add some pak choy as well to our gardens here. We got 3 different radish varieties. I've got, which is one I grow every year. It's the one I really enjoy the most, is a French breakfast variety of radish. So we grow extra of those, as well as I really like these last year too. This was a white icicle, really good. And then another free seed giveaway. They sent us some wasabi radish. So I thought I'd try out some wasabi radish. We might as well grow it out, seeing as how they sent it to us. And I do have a packet here that someone gave me. It was a gourmet blend of beets. So we'll grow those out along with our carrots. I got an all-American variety of parsnip. So we're gonna try the parsnip. I've never grown parsnip. I've never tried parsnip, so that'll be kind of fun to try that out. And for carrots, I've got 4 different varieties. We got this variety called Black Nebula, as well as a rainbow blend. So there'll be some different colors and varieties in there too. So we'll plant out a row of those. And a couple of the smaller varieties I really like are these little finger carrots. Those are great. Again, another one for small spaces and containers. You can grow these really well in. And another one that works well for small spaces and containers, these Parisian markets. Really nice, small, little tasty carrots that kind of grow just in these little balls. So we've got some really good varieties here to get planted out. Let's put those in our garden beds. So what I've done in my garden journal is sketched out some rectangles for each of my different garden beds. This one being our greens bed. I've placed different numbers for each of our varieties that we're going to grow, similar to what we do indoors with our seed trays. And then I'll just put the number on these craft sticks, and they will go at the head of each of our rows. We do have 8 different varieties of greens that we're going to sow into this bed and our taller bed as well. And what I'm going to do is plant rows straight across, and what we'll do is 5 rows each, because we've got 2 of those varieties that are mini. So we'll plant 2 nice close together rows of them, and then we'll space out the other rows of the other varieties just a little bit further apart to give them room as they're growing. Let's get these all planted out. So now on to our small square raised beds here on the back patio, and I'm gonna plant out all of our different radish varieties in these. So along the back side of both of these here, we're gonna plant out those French breakfast varieties. And then on the front side here, I'll plant out that wasabi free seed variety we got from Baker Creek, and we'll put those white icicles along the front of this bed here too. So now on to our tiered bed that we have here. We're gonna grow parsnips along the back here, as we'll do rows along the long way here, parsnips in the back. We'll do a black nebula and the rainbow across here in the back, and then down on the bottom we'll put some beets along the back row, and then we'll plant out those smaller varieties, the little finger and the Parisian markets. So just want to show you real quick, I've not grown parsnips before. Don't know if you have, but I really thought these seeds looked really cool. So we've got all of those carrot seeds all planted out, plus our parsnips and our beets. And as you see here, I just laid down some boards on top of the soil here. And this is a trick I'm gonna try this year. I've been reading about to get some really good germination on our carrots. You wanna keep the soil at the top soil level nice and moist until these carrots germinate. So these boards will help protect the top of the soil. You could also use cardboard, and then that'll keep those nice and moist underneath. And then when they germinate, here in a couple of days, we'll be checking these each day. And when they germinate, we'll take these boards off, and then we'll give them the light. And hopefully we'll get lots of great carrots growing this season. As well, we got all of our other beds all watered in as well too. Help those seeds right along here, and we should be getting some nice greens growing in all of our beds here real soon. Now, one of the things I did want to mention is that each of those rows that we planted out for everything we grew in this back patio area, we overseeded each of our rows. Now that'll mean that we'll have to thin them out later on. It's a tough thing to do, but that's to ensure that we get plenty of each of our varieties growing. Instead of having any bare patches in our garden, we should be nice and full of greens really soon. So all right, in the back area of the property here along our fence line where we grow a lot of our tomatoes later on and a bunch of other things like squash and melons and all that sort of stuff, as this area starts getting growing, hopefully we'll be able to get our bare root grape to grow here in the back corner and kind of up that fence there and out and over if everything goes to plan right. And what we're going to do is we're going to amend our soil here real quick and give it a nice hole to grow in. We'll add in some of that bagged sifted compost and some of our alleyway sifted compost, and then top it off with some of that dry organic fertilizer we got. The sun really comes out in this area here really well during the season, so it should be a really great spot in this garden for our grapes. So hopefully we'll have some delicious grapes here later in the season. So now that we have a hole all prepared for our bare root, now we got to get it put in there. Now we got our bare root at our garden center, just out of a tub inside of some compost. And all of our roots look pretty good right here. What we're going to be looking to do is when we bury this, we're going to be burying it right up to where you see all of the roots coming out, just right there at the base of this bare root. So let's put that right in. And then we also want to orientate it to where we want it to grow up onto the fence. And then I'm just going to add in some of that compost that was sitting in there. Make sure it gets all around inside of the roots there so we don't have any real air pockets or anything like that. I'm going to add in just a little bit of the soil there too. Going with that. And then I've got that recycled, mended soil plus our alleyway compost. And we'll just top this all off with here. And then I'm going to take some of our composted wood chips and kind of use that as a mulch just right around the area as well. So all right, our grape is all planted into its spot back here. Should be doing well here. We'll keep an eye on it over the next couple of weeks. Like I said, I tried this last year, didn't work out well, so I'm gonna make sure that this one is going to grow really great this year, because I want some fresh grapes from the garden. So I think that should about do it for us this week for our garden journal. It's a real pleasure to have all of you along with me here, following along with all of these great garden adventures we're getting into. We've got so many things growing on this year, as you can see so far with all of our videos coming out. We've got our micro pepper farm, the Johnny Appleseed Organics Invitational, plus all of the really great fun things that we've got growing here in our home gardens. So again, hit that subscribe button down below so you can follow along with us here. I'll see all of you next week. Seeds, but what I ended up doing, let's start that over. Bare root, so there we go. How's it going, dude? All right, everybody, welcome to another garden journal here on the silly things I do. A little bit about that. No. So like I mentioned also the other day, I picked up a grape bare root. Thanks, George. You want to be in the video too, huh? Yeah?